It's great gratitude that each of you are joining us today for this special edition of the DLS in recognition of Black History Month, also known as African American History Month. Started in 1926 by a gentleman named Carter Woodson, and it started as a National Negro History Week, is how it started. And from there, we've obviously expanded to beyond that, and it started as just 1 week in February, and obviously now we've been able to expand that over time and have a great showing as a particular African American History Month. So that's a great piece there, and I want you guys to know that. Another big piece there to keep in mind is that the first actual recognized African American History Month was 1970 at Kent State University. So it's another big piece to let you guys know. The saying goes, my people lack of knowledge why they perish. So now that you know why it exists in regards to starting as a week now and into a month as well. This year's African American History theme is Black Migration. Emphasizes the movement of African Americans from subsequent farms to inner cities, from southern cities to northern cities of the alike, Caribbean, from farms to whatever, has a big change there. A big piece there from industrial workers to entrepreneurs, from laborers to educators, from educators to those who are in the like to do things such as state government, education, even things such as ragtime, jazz, music. That's a big change in regards to migration from just being in what they call the juke joints now to being on mainstream. So when you look at migration in African American history, you're not just talking about leaving the farm or leaving your home. We're talking about a big piece of how that's changed over time. And again, I think the treat that you guys have today is seeing the migration and the development from there. Sitting to my right, we have the most distinguished African American female scientist, triple threat. You can't get any better than that. And so I really want to thank each of them for taking the time to brave through our weather and our 2-hour delay and things of that such, and to come out here today. Not a small feat at all, if you want to look at it that way. Another big thing to really keep in mind is the function or the history of the Office of Naval Research's Future Engineering Faculty Fellowship Program. Over its 18-year run, we had approximately about 50 students got their PhDs through this program, which in its sense was a huge deal when it first started, and looking at the reasons of why we wanted to have this program exist, trying to enhance the ability and the know-how and know-it-all, for, if you will, for students who wanted to give back to the community which they serve. That was a big piece in there. I'll give you a little brief bio of each of the ladies sitting next to me, am I right? And then we're going to give it a question and answer period to each one of them and allow them to answer a few questions that we'll have, and then we'll ask you to participate. So this is not a lecture, although they are all professors. This is we want you to be engaging. There's a microphone there. Having questions, please do so. We want this to be a total engagement between us and them as well. Dr. Nave currently serves as a provost and vice chancellor for academic affairs at North Carolina Central University. In this role, she leads and supports several units, including 6 schools and colleges, the Office of Sponsored Programs, and the Division of Extended Studies. She earned her Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry from Alcorn State University and PhD in engineering from the University of Toledo. Dr. Franes Williams, professor in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering and Associate Dean for Graduate Studies at College of Engineering at Tennessee State University. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in Electrical Engineering from North Carolina A&T and a PhD from Georgia Institute of Technology. Dr. Reece currently is a, am I not giving you time to clap? I'm sorry. I want to give time for them to talk, so I want to get through this piece here. Dr. Reece is currently an associate professor, interim chairperson in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at Morgan State University, sharing the Bachelor of Science degree in Electrical Engineering from Morgan State University, and later became the first woman to earn a doctorate degree of engineering from the same institution. So now we can give them all a hand, if you will. Between the 3 of them, we're looking at more than $25 million in grants associated with 8 HBCUs and countless awards, recognition that if we sat here, we could go over their resume and CV for hours and be completely amazed. Because I tell you, sitting in classroom, listening to what they would be teaching, I would be in the back on my phone saying, I want to drop this class. But I really want to thank each of them personally for coming out here today and for taking the time out to educate us on what they have found to be important as we're going forward, as well as their interest in various areas. So what I'll do now, I'm going to open the floor up and allow them to briefly introduce themselves, maybe even more further, give you a little bit of insight about them, and then I'm going to ask them a few questions. So, if you will.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Michel Reece. I'm the chairperson, as Anthony Smith has mentioned, of Morgan State University Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. It is truly a pleasure to be here today. I truly thank you for the invitation just to be here to share of our experiences. And I think I'll pass.
Good morning, and I too thank you for the opportunity to come and share and just talk a little bit about what our experiences have been, both in the program as graduates of HBCUs and now as
The mic may not be on.
faculty or and in administrative
There you go.
positions. Got it. I got it.
Get it?
I got it.
All
Thank
right.
you. I'm an engineer, but don't know how to turn on the microphone. All right. But again, it's indeed a pleasure, and I look forward to an engaging conversation here with you all as well as with my esteemed colleagues.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Franes Williams. I serve as Associate Dean for the College of Engineering at Tennessee State University in Nashville. And like my other panelists, I am excited and thrilled to participate in this panel this morning.
All right, well, thank you. So we'll get into the questions. Again, we will try to leave time for Q&A, but if you really are burning to ask a question, let us know. We'll be happy to have you do that. The first question I'll ask, and I'll ask each of the panelists to please answer this question. Each of you have an impressive background, amazing institution that you've been with. What made you become a scientist in the first place?
So what made me become a scientist in the first place was through a summer program. At Morgan State University, when I was a rising senior, they offered a summer engineering exploration program. And within that program, it was a group of us where we had the opportunity to go to different state organizations. We went to the Army Research Lab, and we were able to play with robots. We saw how guns were made. We looked at ballistic information. So that was an eye-opening experience for me. I always had a love for math and science, and I always just liked to solve problems. That was one of the things that I liked to do, and that program gave me an opportunity to see other folks that, like me, that had an interest in math and science.
Likewise, as a high school student, I've always was curious, liked solving problems, had a passion or enjoyed participating in math and science events. I'm from rural Mississippi. I played a lot outside, so I guess that was my first true experimental laboratory between the plants, the animals, and everything in between. But a chance encounter, my mother was a member of the Mississippi National Guard, and one of her colleagues was an electrical engineer. And as mothers do, in talking about their children, she told him, what I was like, what I was interested in about, and he recommended that I consider electrical engineering, which was different, a different option, given that most of the people in our small town, they were either teachers, doctors, or lawyers. So that was a field that had not necessarily been discussed in our small high school. And so around that time, I believe it was the first year that the National Science Foundation funded the Alliance for Minority Participation in the Sciences, and I was fortunate to be selected at Alcorn State University, being part of that inaugural class. And the person who ran that program was a chemistry teacher. And he did his job, and he made sure that I stayed at Alcorn and graduated with a chemistry degree. But it fit with what my passion and my interests were, and so it was just a natural take for me.
So being on the end, I could kind of say ditto to a lot. But growing up, math and science were my favorite subjects as well. My mother actually taught math and science in the 5th and 6th grade. And so I just always had an interest. She kept me involved in like math camps, doing science fairs, different projects at home. And I think that really helped to build a good foundation in terms of my interests. But then I had a cousin who actually majored in engineering, and so I learned that engineering was the application of math and science to make these cool products that we all use. And I said, I think I like that, and that made me pursue engineering as an undergraduate degree.
Wonderful. So with the opportunity that, African American students have now to attend a variety of schools, no matter where they are, whether it's a local school, an HBCU, or not an HBCU, what was your influence and why did you decide to attend an undergraduate at HBCU?
Money. To be honest, in terms of my background, my parents were immigrants from Jamaica, so their highest education was high school, but in our home, they always promoted getting a college degree. However, we didn't have the funds, and there was 5 of us, and I was the last one. So by the time college came around for me, funds were definitely low. So in terms of selecting an institution, even though I applied to different institutions, PWI, predominantly Caucasian institutions, different institutions locally and also nationally as well, and got accepted, the financial aid packages were just not enough. I needed a full ride. I need tuition and fees, I needed room and board, I needed books, I needed everything. And because I had the summer experience at Morgan State as a high school student, I went back to Morgan State, and the dean, he was Eugene Deloach at the time. He said, "Why aren't you here? Why don't I see your application?" So I immediately put in my application, and they were very supportive. And that's what you're going to get when you go to a HBCU, is that level of support. They understand the needs. They understand the environments that we're coming from. And they have such a network of people that are there and ready to sacrifice and really help students in need to get them to that next level. And that is what they did for me. They provided me an opportunity, and I took it and ran with it. So, so that was the main decision as to why I chose an HBCU. From that experience, I don't regret it. I had so many doors open for me. I had internships my first freshman year. I went to California, all expenses paid, and I learned so much. So the HBCU experience is a great experience. And I tell my students all the time that Ohm's Law is Ohm's Law wherever you go.
Thank you.
So as 18-year-olds, you always think that you have a choice, right, in what your selection is going to be. But when reality sits in, you don't really have a choice. It's with your parents. I'm actually a legacy graduate of Alcorn State University. Out of my grandmother's 9 children, 5 of the 9 graduated from Alcorn State. Out of her grandchildren, 8. 2 attended, the other 6 graduated. And we're on that next generation of our children now choosing to go to Alcorn. But it was the best decision that I could have made at the time. The level of opportunities from internship to mentorship, it was that extension of home that as an 18-year-old I needed. Although I thought I was grown, I really was not. And there was still a lot more for me to learn, and Alcorn provided that. And so it was the best choice of a no choice that was made for me at that point in time in my life.
So I attended North Carolina A&T for my undergraduate degree, and it just so happened that my cousin, who was the engineer who told me about his experience in engineering, had also gone to North Carolina A&T. While I was in high school, my oldest sister was majoring in accounting at North Carolina A&T. So while I did apply to various universities, PWIs, and HBCUs, I also had many family members who had gone to HBCUs. So I saw that they were successful, and I knew that, so I had a good thoughts about HBCUs. And so then just visiting my sister while she was in college, and I was able to meet the dean, Dr. Harold Martin, who's now the chancellor of North Carolina A&T, and he told me about all the wonderful opportunities for the students, and I really felt at home. It was that, here's the dean, and he's having a conversation, and he was really, it was a candid but informal conversation, and I just wanted to be an Aggie. And so, and I'm glad I did. Again, I had internships from my freshman year, just had an awesome experience and grew even as a person.
Great, well, thank you. I think that the other mothering mindset of the universities had for you when you were there, for each of you were there, and how you found that it was more like home and less like school, and being able to have folks look like you and the same mindset of you, that's probably another big piece there as well.
Absolutely.
But as you begin to move forward in your education and realize that you really want to be a scientist, you discovered the R&R's program that they had going on. What led you to actually pursue that? We'll start on that end, Dr. Williams, this time, to pursue
Okay.
the program versus any other program that may have come your way.
In terms of being a scientist and,
Well, this particular program that you started with, the one that R&R funded your PhD program.
okay, yes. So actually, it was my dean. My dean approached me, Dr. Martin, and I believe he was involved with the program even back then. He knew I was applying to graduate school. Again, I had a number of mentors at A&T, and he was one of them. And so we would talk about, the universities I was looking at and about applying to fellowship programs. And so he actually introduced me to the fellowship program, and I applied and was awarded it.
Nothing too different to add in that, we're blessed to have mentors in the faculty who, even once you graduate, continue to reach out to you to inform you about different opportunities that are available. And so as I was looking for other opportunities to fund my graduate education, I came across the O&R program and applied, and fortunately was successful in securing a slot, and it's been a wonderful experience.
So for me, my experience is a little bit different. It was actually a friend of mine who was a current faculty fellow who alerted me of the particular fellowship, and he encouraged me to apply. I applied. I initially was denied. I shared it with our two colleagues here. I was initially denied the fellowship. However, a couple of days later, I received a call, and they mentioned that I did receive the fellowship, and it's just been a great experience since.
Right. Wonderful. For it seems like from what you guys spoke about, mentorship played an important role, as well as developing relationship with folks early on, folks being deans and provosts and those alike. So what kind of interest relationship you've had with R&R or any other scientists since you started in the program? What have you gotten out of the relationship you have, been awarded the PhD through the program? Have you found that you've been able to be more keen with the Navy environment because of that, or was this something that you guys did because it was a benefit for the program?
So actually, while I was in the program, towards the end, they actually started having facilitating visits. And so we were able to come here, all the fellows, so we were able to meet other fellows. Felecia was a fellow while I was a fellow, so that's where we first met. And so that was good, just, to meet the other fellows from the other schools. And then we toured NRL. And so then we're able to start learning about the research. And that was of particular interest to me because I was about to graduate. I knew I was going to be a faculty. So I wanted to be aware of just what was going on here for future proposals. And in the future, so interactions, I continue to be involved with ONR, the fellowship program, just as a reviewer, and, lending time for that. And we would have a symposium, and a lot of us would come back and participate with that. But now I actually have an ONR grant myself. So it has, I've been on different sides. And now I'm happy to say that I have funding. Yes. So it paid off.
Yeah. Very good. Likewise, we were, depending on the discipline from the visits when we got to meet each other, over the years have been able to stay in touch, develop broader relationships with our colleagues in those different fields, and participated in different activities with each other. And I would say been a support network for each other, because then you have someone else out there who you can call, ask questions, and there's that commonality in what some aspects of your background. So even now when I may see someone from the group that I hadn't seen in a number of years, it becomes a point that we can start the conversation and then just kind of filter what that relationship has been. From a research perspective, when I went into the academy, unfortunately was never able to make a financial or a funding connection, and I think that just had more to do with what my line of research was rather than what the opportunities were. But what I would take away as a positive, have always maintained some type of periodic relationship with ONR when new programs come out, new directions. I think there was a program that they were looking to put in place that would kind of help with startup funds for research for faculty at HBCUs. And so as I've matriculated into administrative roles, have been more of a facilitator for connections with other faculty and administrators within the college, first at Prairie View and now at North Carolina Central, to expand that partnership and relationship with ONR and the HBCU.
So in terms of the experience being a future faculty fellow with ONR, I've found that the experience has opened doors, like my colleagues have said, in terms of being able to network with engineers and other folks in the area. In recent years, we have been successful in terms of the relationships that we've developed with ONR. And I think it's just over time being able to change that perspective as it relates to HBCUs and their technical capabilities. The more that we're able to engage with ONR engineers and folks, and they able to come and see what it is that we can do, I think it changes the perspective and the conversation about the technical capabilities of HBCUs. So we have been successful in terms of obtaining infrastructure funding for facilities, instrumentation grants, and also research as well. And we're hoping to continue those conversations and open those doors so that folks are aware of our capabilities, our technical capabilities that we can offer to the Navy.
Wonderful. Well, I think a lot has to be said now about your legacy that you've had in the program and your relationship that you've built over the program, and how you've been able to take what you've learned back to each institution that you are at now. So what I ask you to do maybe now is to spend a little opportunity talking about your institution that you are at and what your capabilities are, and give us a sense of what you have to offer that we may be missing and not be aware of. So I'll pass it. I think Dr. Nave, you're up first.
Yes.
You can just hit the,
Again, the engineer that's technically challenged. I always say I'm a chemical engineer, not an electrical or computer scientist. As mentioned, I'm Felecia Nave, and I have the pleasure of serving as the provost and vice chancellor for academic affairs. I've been at North Carolina Central for about 7 months now. And one of the things that attracted me to the university, beyond the success that they've had in the classroom, is the robust opportunity for research expansion that's going on at the institution. Central was founded in 1910 and was the first public liberal arts institution for African American. We are a master's comprehensive institution. We offer degrees at the bachelor's, master's. We have a school of law and a PhD in integrated biosciences. This is covered across 6 different colleges and schools. And here are just some university highlights to kind of demonstrate the strength of where we are in terms of our enrollment, our impact in the regional area. We are definitely growing in the research space and looking to build more capacity and expand our research portfolio. We're now sitting at about $26.8 million, and that was for the year. For this year, we're already at $26 million, and we still have about 5 or 6 months to go in the quarter. Here are just some of our rankings. We're listed in the top 10 among HBCUs by best colleges using news, as well as in the College Board. Some of our other signature programs are our nursing programs. We're making great strides in our online space, and we have a dynamic STEM program. 2 signature centers that are offered at the institution have been around for some 10 plus years. One is our Biomanufacturing Research Institute and Technology Enterprise called BRIGHT, as well as our Julius Chambers Biomedical Biotechnology Research Institute, BBRI. With BRIGHT, as the slide says, we have over 450,000 compounds for a drug discovery library, and it's one of the largest at any college in the university. For our BBRI, we have a significant focus on health disparities, research, and we have a number of faculty who are continuously pushing the envelope in innovative research in those areas. Now here we got to the part about what research are we currently doing with ONR. Unfortunately, at this time, North Carolina Central does not have any research activity or sponsorship from the Office of Naval Research. But when I spoke with the research associate vice chancellor, I asked him to give me an idea of what some of the areas where we had capabilities and what would be good partnership areas. So these are some of the areas that we have the infrastructure both in terms of faculty expertise, the innovation in terms of facilities and equipment, and have projects that are being sponsored by other areas, but would be a great opportunity for us to continue conversations around opportunities for partnerships and growth. Discover what's central to you. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to give just a brief overview about Tennessee State University, and then I'll talk about our capabilities at the university, and then specifically in the College of Engineering, which I represent. And then I'll just briefly go over 3 programs that have been funded by the Navy or ONR specifically. So we are a public HBCU founded in 1912. Our president is Dr. Glenda Glover, and currently, or for fall 2018, our enrollment was about 7,100 students. We have 77 majors, and for 2018, our research was a little over 53 million. So hopefully you can see this, but this just outlines the research capabilities across the university as a whole. And so you'll see there are a number of areas. We have a very active agriculture, College of Agriculture. We are a land-grant university, but also in the health sciences, and then of course in engineering. So that's represented here. Then within the College of Engineering, we have about 900 students. that are in the college, and that's undergraduate and graduate. And so I'm going to go a little more detail in the research here, but still just highlighting some of our strategic research areas. So you see that we have advanced computing and data sciences, and some of the specialties that we actually are doing research under these areas. So we have cybersecurity, advanced materials, and devices, which happens to be my research area of expertise. We also have intelligent systems research, transportation systems, and then research that's going on in renewable energy and infrastructure sustainability. So again, I'm just highlighting our research areas, and you'll see some of the more specifics under each research area highlighted here. But we do have a number of research active faculty and graduate programs, not just on the master's level, but PhD level as well in the College of Engineering. So this last slide is a lot of information, but it does highlight 3 projects that are currently funded. The first one is actually my project, which deals with the design of microsensors for the detection of corrosion on aircraft. And with that, of course, I could talk all day about the project, but I won't, but you can see some details about that project there. We also have a newer project that was funded, I believe, just last year is when it started, on ground and airborne synthetic multimodal imagery, data generation for training of deep learning classifiers. And then the last is actually a NEEC center, if you're familiar with the NEEC program. And so this is with NAVC and the Naval Surface Warfare Center, Crane Division. And so they're actually looking at materials for batteries. And with that being said, that's just a very brief overview of our research. If you do have specific questions, please let me know afterwards and we can discuss.
So hello. So the presentation that I'm going to share with you today is more focused on the department in terms of our Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. As it relates to Morgan State University as a whole, Morgan State University is known as the preeminent urban research university within the state of Maryland. This has been most recent designation. Also, we have most recently obtained our R2 status, Carnegie status in terms of research as well. And the way our department supports the research enterprise and goals for the university laid out by our president, David Wilson, is that our goal, our mission, and our vision aligns to produce graduates, both undergrad and graduate students, who are able to participate in these areas and support innovation and creativity through scholarship and strategic partnerships that we have with industry, government, and academia. Our goal or our theme is growing the future but innovating now. And so as we look at our department is a relatively, I always say, a new department or school. Our school is relatively new in that it started in 1984. It had its first graduates in 1984. So we were relatively new in comparison to most engineering departments. However, over the years, we've been able to grow our program, and currently we offer 4 degree programs: a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, a Master of Engineering, Doctorate of Engineering, and a Master of Science in Electrical Engineering. If you look towards my right, the degrees awarded, undergraduate degrees awarded from that time has been over 1,500 degrees. Our former Dean Emeritus, Dean Eugene Deloach, was noted to be the top highest producer of African American degrees, bachelor degrees in engineering. Currently, we house the largest number of students within our program, within the School of Engineering, with over 500 students, undergraduate students within our program. 30 students, which are doctoral students, and 12, which are masters. What is nice to always know about an engineering program is that it's ABET accredited. We have an ABET accredited program. Most recently in 2016, we received the NSA DHS, the National Security Agency, Department of Homeland Security Center of Academic Excellence in Cyber Defense. So we have a undergraduate concentration in cyber where students are able to take certain courses and they receive certification that is noted by NSA. Also, we offer a mega site REU research experiences for undergraduates, which is new for us, and it also helps to support our research thrust in terms of attracting students to our program to do high productive research. Most recently, we've been awarded the Cyber Center for Assurance and Policy. This center is an appropriations from the state of Maryland, where we're able to grow our research thrust areas, specifically in cyber as it relates to hardware assurance and policy.
Ma'am, could I,
Sure.
Megasite is big, that much I know, but what's an REU?
REU is a research experience for undergraduates, so it's a National Science Foundation program. It's a summer program where we invite undergraduate students from different institutions to come and explore research programs at the institution. And it's a mega site because we actually were able to obtain support from multiple HBCUs to support this particular program. So Morgan State is part of this centric program in which all of the HBCUs that have engineering programs, we work together to go after large grants to help to support our students. So what I wanted to talk about now is some of the research enterprise that we have going on at our institution. And currently we have three main research focused thrust areas, and we have a developing research thrust area in materials. Actually, most recently, ONR, actually, I'm sorry, it's not ONR, it's another defense. But we do have a developing area, thrust area materials as it relates to hardened materials and boron nitride. One of the research thrust areas is in, like I mentioned before, to support our cyber area, is in embedded systems and hardware assurance. So we're looking at the IoT space, Internet of Things. We're looking at the devices, how we can secure those devices, reverse engineer those devices. And we have faculty and students who are very productive in that area. It's a really strong and fast-growing area in which we're looking to bring on 5 additional faculty to support that. Another area which is near and dear to my heart, because that's my area of expertise, is RF and communications. As a matter of fact, right now we're in communication with ONR to address a BAA to look at the health monitoring of soldiers in the field and looking at low power communications aspect. So again, we have faculty, we have research, we have facilities, hardware to help to support these different areas. And the last one is computer engineering. In our computer engineering area, we're using machine learning algorithms to help to look at large multivariate data sets in order to make really good decisions. And so we have, again, faculty and students who are supporting these different areas, and we have facilities as well. So I just wanted to give a short, quick overview of that.
Well, thank you very much. Each of you, I think, have presented this phenomenal capabilities that you have at your schools, and I think that we are better for that. I am positive that someone sitting in here will find ways and means by which to get to each one of you when we leave here, so don't run off. I'm sure we will find ways to work with you on your lines there for networking to benefit both the institution and ONR and Navy as a whole. What I'll have here to do, maybe for the next 4 or 5 minutes, is take questions, and then we'll have them give their final comments.
I got it. Good morning. Ladies, I enjoyed your presentation. We got a common friend, Valen Emery.
Yes,
I used to work at Army Research Lab before I came over here.
yes,
But you mentioned that they had a summer program at Morgan.
yes,
Never heard of that before.
yes.
I used to recommend a lot of kids to the Michigan summer program. Do the other two, I'm going to ask the two questions. The other two colleges have summer programs? And what age do you think is a good time to start a kid who wants to major in engineering?
So to answer that question, yes, the literature shows that between 3rd and 5th grade is when students either really, grasp and run after, certain fields or run away from certain fields. And so 3rd and 5th grade, that's why, even for myself, just those math camps at an early age. I have pictures of me as a child doing projects. But 3rd and 5th grade, especially for minority students and girls, that's the age where either, whether it's true or not, they think they're good in math and science, or they think it's too hard. And so I'm sure we all do a lot of outreach with K through 12 because of that. And it's important for them to be involved in engaging, fun, math and science and engineering activities. So elementary.
I would agree, but I would also add that it's never too late. It's all about the exposure and the introduction, and helping the child see themselves in those roles. And so that's the ideal age from a literature and what all we know. But I would, challenge us all to say it's never too late to introduce the students to those opportunities. With respect to research programs on our campus, we have a number of research activities that are going on, but Central does not have currently an REU site, but this summer through our Kannapolis efforts out of Charlotte, we're looking to start a summer research program where we'll be inviting students to attend.
Do you guys do anything with ARO? Because I used to go down to visit ARO quite a bit.
We do have a partnership with ARO.
And it was one more question I wanted to ask.
Answer the question she hasn't answered.
I'm sorry.
Whoa. Ditto.
Well, she has a summer program, but she good, but she can tell me that. Yeah.
So I guess for some
Also, I want to say, again, I told you I'm from South Carolina State, the first HBCU that has a nuclear engineering program.
Yes.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Yes.
And we do have students that come during the summer. We don't have an organized REU program, but many of our grants support undergraduate students doing research in our labs, and so many investigators actually have students. I've had students in my group every summer from different schools who may be, from Nashville.
So to give you a little information regarding our REU for this summer is in relation to smart cities. So students that participate in our REU this summer, they'll be focusing on projects, IoT-based projects. They'll do some software development, some visualization of big data in relation to the idea or the theme around smart cities.
So it's important to keep the students engaged, not just in the summer, but finding year-round activities that they can participate to help broaden and expand their exposure, their knowledge and expertise. And so I've supported and we're looking into being able to offer programs even before they get to school. So doing some high school REU programs. And once you get that going, moving it down a little further down that totem pole with the students. But they're very inquisitive. They're naturally curious, so being able to get them connected to the university through partnerships, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whatever community-based activities are there is key critical in order to expand the exposure and opportunity and access to STEM.
Okay. Any other questions?
Would it would it be beneficial in some ways to have relationships with Navy or Marine Corps bases near your universities to help possibly, this is just a suggestion, something I've talked to some people at East Carolina State about Camp Lejeune, but there are bases in Mississippi and Maryland, of course, that may facilitate kind of a flow of needs and ideas and potential jobs. I don't know if that's something that seems appealing or potentially beneficial that we might facilitate.
So one of the things that, thank you for your question. One of the things that we are encouraging within our department is that we need to make sure that our curriculum is relevant to the needs of the workforce. And so we've started to engage our industrial partners, and we're open to engage our DoD friends as well to participate in that discussion so that we know that our curriculum is relevant, because when our students obtain their degrees, they're going into your workforce. And so we want to make sure that they're prepared and that they have the capabilities that they need in order to solve today's tough challenges.
Ditto. I think the partnerships are key. There's room at the table for all stakeholders, and it is actually an area that we all could do a better job at finding ways to partner that are mutually beneficial for both of the institutions, but have a greater impact on students' access and opportunities. My husband said sci-fi junkie, I watch movies, and the military have the coolest toys. And at younger ages, as well as they get older, their eyes are excited about what they can see in the practical application of what they learn. And although, at the institutions, we do the best job that we can to keep up with the changing demands of the various fields, having the equipment, the facilities, and so forth, there are still limitations, both from a funding perspective, from just having the breadth of expertise that you can have. And so those partnerships help us to have more robust experiences for our students.
I agree as well, especially in terms of the practical applications. Of course, we focus on the concepts and theories and, theory in the classroom, but the actual application of the theory for actual needs, I think, is important. So yes, those partnerships are vital.
So as we close, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to add that we're and I'm sure my colleagues will agree that the partnerships that we really need in terms of at a HBCU is those partnerships that will help us from the beginning to the end. So in terms of engaging the student once they come in until when they leave as well. So we've noticed that a lot of folks come in and they grab our best and our brightest. However, we also need that support on the back end as well when students initially come in order to maintain that pipeline of students.
Well, I want to thank you guys for that, and I think I'm going to give my hand real quick before we move on. As we close, I'm going to ask them to have one final comment here, and we're going to talk about HBCUs being the nation's best kept secret. I think what we find a lot of time that we assume that you don't go to one of the premier PWIs as if you're not going to get a great education. As I mentioned before, Ohm's law is the same at North Carolina Central, at Stanford, at Howard. It doesn't change. And I want to make that known. So what I want to ask in their final comments here is two things. One, is it really the next best kept secret? And two, what have you found that has taken you to where you are from your initial experience from HBCU?
So, I think that phrase has become quite common, that we're the best kept secret. And even when you individualize it down to our campuses, we're constantly trying to figure out marketing and branding ways because we're the best kept secret. I would venture to say we're not a secret. We've been around for a very long time, and we have a strong record of producing some of the most innovative, you name it, whether it's from the classroom to the workforce to athletics. HBCUs have continued over decades to put out some of the best individuals. So I see it more as people have selective memory about HBCUs and what their value and worth, and depending on what's going on in the political times, determines how they're viewed. But we have staying power. We've been here, we're going to be here, and we will continue to graduate the best and the brightest, those at the cutting edge and those who are most innovative. And we've done it on a shoestring budget.
Yes.
We've done it, with not always having the most resources and the most support, but we've always found a way to do it. So my parting words would be that, partners such as ONR, I think you should continue to invest. We are just 3 examples of the benefit and the return on investment for where you put your money in the program. And it has definitely, I think, been worthwhile for our institutions in preparing African Americans who could return, African American females in the STEM areas who could return and make major contributions to those institutions.
Yes, and so actually, as a follow-up, in terms of what the value of HBCUs and what we have done well for years is producing a great talent, as Felecia mentioned. Actually, last year, the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine published a report that's entitled Minority Serving Institutions, America's Underutilized Resource for Strengthening the STEM Workforce. So I wouldn't say maybe we're a secret, but underutilized, the underutilized resource for providing talent. We all know that there's a challenge in the STEM workforce in terms of the aging technical workforce and a decrease in native-born workforce. And I think the HBCUs are an underutilized resource.
And I just want to say that the numbers don't lie. When you look in terms of the production of graduates with master's and doctor's degrees, their starting point was from an HBCU. And so those numbers don't lie. And I think part of what we need to do is to change that conversation in terms of changing the perspective regarding what HBCUs can do and what we bring to the table. Again, the numbers don't lie. In terms of HBCUs, most of our student pool are U.S. citizens. And ONR, ARL, ARO, Air Force, AFRL, they all need U.S. citizens. And again, the numbers do not lie.
Good. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. Thank each of you personally for coming out here and braving the storms and the 2-hour delay and things of that such. I cannot tell you how impressed I am with the panel we have here. As I mentioned earlier, we were looking at a triple threat sitting in front of me, right next to me. You don't get this all the time. We always want to do something different, but I think for females in STEM, you have to see something that you want to be, and you're having that right here. And I really want that to be known and recognized. And as we depart here today, keep in mind that they're an email or phone call away on our 33, 34, 35, 31, whomever. Global, exactly. Take advantage of that. And that's a big piece there. I personally we don't have anything from my program from Morgan State right now. That could change rapidly soon as we're done here, hopefully. Tennessee State, by chance, has had 2 grants from us in the last 2 years. So they're doing fairly well and trying to find a way to network. But again, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank each of you for your time and for your patience and for your candid comments. It's done us great to hear that. So if you guys will give them a very warm welcome, round of applause.